We believe that the heart of a man is a treasure trove of untold stories, powerful lessons, and profound wisdom. Through authentic dialogues and insightful discussions, we aim to unlock these treasures, one story at a time. So, whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. Get ready to be challenged, inspired, and transformed. And now, to guide you through this journey of discovery, please welcome your host, a visionary leader and a true catalyst for change, Dwayne Dwyer, but we affectionately know him as the Mindset Coach.
Good evening, family. Good evening. Good evening. I am your host for tonight, not Dwayne Dwyer, affectionately known as the Mindset Coach. That is the brother cut from me right above. Next to him is the Uncle Junior, all right, the consistency coach. Next to me, my big brother, the poor man's Dr. Phil, also known as Shift Happens. And I am Tawami Gaddy, the son of Timothy, also known as the Available Man. How are you brothers doing this Friday evening?
Doing well. Looking forward to the conversation.
I'm doing well. All is well. Life is good, Excited to be here and really looking forward to this conversation about mindset shift.
Yeah, man. I'm good. Again, another end of another great another great week. And I always look forward to connecting with you guys as well as, sharing in conversation with what we call the livest chat in social media. So yeah, I'm good.
Yes, sir. Same here. Another good week. It's been a busy week, but we are here. And y'all know me, I get excited to talk with my brothers, to chop it up, and we got a full house tonight. The livest chat. Let's see. Y'all know we like to pan stuff off the coach, but I'm gonna try to do my work today. So let me run through this chat. Nick D, good evening, sis. Crystal Everett, good evening. Uncle Junior again, good evening. His Divine, good evening, sis. His Divine Appointment, renewed consideration. Good evening, my sister. Who else we have in the chat? And we already said Crystal Everett. Yes, is Maya. It's good to see you. Good evening, sis. Miss Charlotte Jordan. Good evening, ma'am. How are you? Yeah, I love saying that name because you get that smile from that brother right above me. Yes, it is good. It is good to see. Listen, if you are listening in and you haven't jumped into the chats, go ahead and get in the chat so that we can see you and we can acknowledge you. And stay connected. This is the livest chat on these YouTube streets, right? They stay engaged. There's always something empowering. If you don't get it from the panel, you get it from the chat. So stay tuned in, and hit that like button as you come in and as you are tuning into this conversation. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into this conversation tonight. All right. Tonight's conversation, we're talking about the mindset shift that no one wants to make. Oftentimes we get accustomed to thinking how we think, moving how we move, believing how we believe. And sometimes we get in a place to where we feel stuck. We feel as if we're not moving forward. We're not progressing as we feel. The effort that we put in is not matched by the outcome that we seek. Well, maybe sometimes that means the mindset has to shift, has to change. We have to take our mind from where we've always been and evolve and elevate so that we can continue to evolve and elevate in our life so that we don't stay stagnant, so that we can get the best out of our efforts, the best out of our work, and that we can grow every day, and so that we can help someone along the way. That's always my biggest one. So with that, we're going to be talking about shifting our minds, and the mindset that I want to talk about is how do we shift into a growth mindset. All right, and we can go as we go back to the multi screen. Brothers, I want to ask this first question tonight. I'm over here, my since we're talking, I want to talk about the growth and fixed mindset. So, how would you describe what a fixed mindset is?
I would describe a fixed mindset as a mindset that is stuck or and or maybe complacent. If you have a belief or the mindset that I can't get ahead in life because of X, Y, and Z. As long as you have that mindset, you won't be able to get ahead, or you're always going to have a reason to blame X, Y, and Z and then take some of the responsibility off of you. So, to just kind of be more simple about it, just, pretty much a fixed mindset is just a mindset that is stuck. And sometimes I will say not willing to change.
I'd say that a fixed mindset is one that lives in excuses. I'm not good at that. I ain't never been at math, so or they make excuse or say little even jokes about themselves. Well, I'm not. I can't do that. I'm such and such. So it's like you limit yourself instead of actually trying. So you live in the excuse.
Yeah, I agree with everything you heard so far. It's one where you don't believe that you have the ability to move beyond where you are. So your intellect, your skills, and all of those things, they're fixed in stone. And that person believes that like there is no ceiling. Like they've hit the ceiling of their potential. There is nothing more beyond that. So they're fixed in what they're currently thinking. They're fixed in how they're currently behaving. And sometimes you hear like, well, that's just who I am. People just need to accept me for who I am and things of that nature. So yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell a fixed mindset, in conjunction with what everybody else said.
Absolutely, I agree with everything everyone said. I, and I think it starts right there because I was at where you were at, Coach, with the belief concept. Like, yes, everything that Unc and that Rose said, but stemming from the idea that I can't, that this is where I am. I've met my limits. Like, this is my abilities. This is my knowledge base. This is where, I this is my plateau. This is how fast I could run. This is how much I can lift. I'm stuck here. I can't go past it. You know. Um,
I gotta when
mhm.
you get a chance, can I interject?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. So I know, well, I don't know. We may get to it, we may not, but I listened to everything that everybody said about a fixed mindset, and I agree with everything. Are we saying that a fixed mindset is good or bad, or is that something that we're going to get to down the road, or do it even matter for this conversation?
It does matter, right? For this conversation because and I started off here with a fixed mindset. I don't want to call it bad per se, um, but I believe it's the mindset that causes a lot of complacency, right? Because some people who they're complacent because they're comfortable. I don't need much. There's some people that's complacent because they believe I can't get past this. I can't get out of this. I don't have the ability to to gain more. You know this is the highest promotion I can get. I'm gonna stay right here. I'm not even gonna try because I got passed up X amount of times, right? You know, we've heard that story. And so I'm not calling it bad, but if we're looking to grow, to get to a growth mindset, we have to identify and understand what this fixed mindset is so that we can begin to address it so that we can move into what's called a growth mindset.
So you waking me up, and you said you don't want to call it bad per se. I don't speak French, so I'm gonna call it bad because it's negative. Because you can't make the negative a positive in any fashion, especially when you're talking about mindset. If you're saying, hey, if you're the one doubting, you're the one downing yourself, you're the one looking at your capabilities saying, well, I can only, and you're limiting yourself, you're limiting your own beliefs, I don't think it can be anything but
Oh, oh, wait. Yeah, I'm spot on. I'm with you, bro. There is no way you're going to find a notion, a narrative about a fixed mindset and call it good. I don't care how you shape it. Again, a fixed mindset is believing I don't have the ability to. I've reached the pinnacle. Like in some aspects, we can say, like, well, I have a fixed mindset about this. But then within the scope of this, you still have to believe that more is available, that you have the ability to grow, that you have the ability to have a better understanding of that. So even within the scope of that, you still can't have a fixed mindset there. So I don't care how you slice it. And I don't care what avenue we talk about, like fixed mindset is bad.
So I hope I'm not clouding the water. I'm probably not. Y'all smart brothers. So here's what I'm thinking. And I know we're probably going to get to the an open mindset, or you know what I mean, a growth mindset. But if I'm open about things and I'm willing to have um my opinion or my perspective change with new information, so if I have a fixed mindset and I believe that, you know what, I'm supposed to be married and I am married, right? So, and I believe I have a fixed mindset that I'm supposed to treat my wife a certain type of way according to whatever principles that I believe in. So is that not a fixed mindset that's good, or is that not a fixed mindset at all? That's just something that I believe that's totally different from my fixed mindset. And that's the only reason why I had a little bit of confusion, and I wanted to make sure that, before we continued, I actually understood, a little bit more about the fixed mindset.
Sure. Given that example, if we're saying a fixed mindset is good in that regard, then my
Mhm.
wife got the best of me that she is ever going to get. There is no growth found in me according to a fixed mindset. What she got from the beginning is what she is going to get all the way through. That's why I said what I said. Like it doesn't matter what we talk about,
Mhm.
even when we move the needle from here, we can talk about religion, we can talk about marriage, we can talk about gym games, we can talk about finances, whatever it is. What I'm saying is that I don't have the ability to. I don't think that there is any more. I can't learn anything. Well, sure you can. I can learn how to be a better communicator. I can learn how to be a better listener. I can learn how to be more attentive to her needs. I can actually learn
Mhm.
how to be more empathetic. So, yeah, within the scope of marriage, yeah, I can become a better husband. But if I think that, well, I have a fixed mindset about marriage, and what I'm saying is that, well, sure, I believe that I'm supposed to be married, but in getting married, there is no higher. Like what she got day one, that's the best you're gonna get.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I'm glad y'all went there because something I wanted to grab out the chat. But let's grab God's favorite 1985 first. Yes, that is God's favorite year because that's when He allowed me to bless y'all with my presence here on this planet. But he said a fixed mindset is because that would mean you're incapable of changing, which ultimately means no growth. I I stand right there. Uh, and the focus here is you're incapable of changing, and that's the mindset. It's not the variables around you. It's about you. Uh, which brings me to the next comment. His divine appointment. She says, "I believe it's subjective. I have a fixed mindset when it comes to being a believer. The Lord is my shepherd." And I agree with my mind is fixed on him and what the scripture said, but that's because the scriptures is fixed. And so that's where I get what you're saying, but for me, that's where the conversation is different. In this conversation is I'm not fixed. So I'm not at my limit of what I can become for him, of how much of him I can learn, of how much in him I can grow. I haven't become yet. So I'm not so fixed in my mind that I can't learn something new. That he can't because I might need a change. And I think we talk about this a lot. Sometimes we believe that I'm not the one that needs to change. You know, and you see a lot of people out here, they like to dance with the scriptures because they think the word need to change, not them. I don't want to step on nobody's toes, but but we hear it in some of these prophet liars out here. Anyway,
And that would be more of a growth mindset anyway, because you may be fixed on your belief system, saying this is what I believe in, but it's continually fluid. It's continuing to grow. So now I read, I study, I learn so that I can move, not so that I can say that I can't grow and can't be anything better. Because daily I'm trying to be better. Daily I'm trying to learn to be the best me that I can be. And once I say the best me that I can be, it says that my limit is not up to me.
listen, we dancing on it, so we might as well go ahead and define it. Next question, which is how would you describe a growth mindset?
I think that's like a mindset that's open and willing to evolve and literally grow. I like growth. I also like evolving when it comes to the mindset as well. So I like both of those. But yeah, just how would you describe a growth mindset? Is just I think the open mindedness and the willingness to continue to grow and evolve and to get better and more knowledgeable or whatever about whatever it is that we're talking about. Whole bunch of different things.
I think a growth mindset would be exactly what Uncle was explaining, because it's one that says that, okay, I'm dependent on new information. New information come, now I can change. I'm not stuck in a corner saying, I'm not changing or I'm not growing. I have the ability and capacity to learn new information and grow as it comes.
Yeah, so agreed. I also think a lot of times we think when we hear a fixed mindset, then just the opposite is a growth mindset. And I think there's a space in between the two, right? You have a fixed mindset, then you have confusion, I believe, and then you have a growth mindset. Because a growth mindset is where you believe that there is room to grow. Your skills can be sharpened, your intellect can heighten, all of that stuff is available. But then you become open and a seeker of that. So it's not just, oh, it's going to happen, right? It's that no, that's where I am focused at. I am focused on, becoming better at this, improving this and stuff like that. So I don't want to make it sound because I know a lot of times we hear a definition about one thing and then we say, oh, well, it's just the opposite. Well, no, one is that I believe I don't have the ability, and one is the other side is that I have the desire to. So it's not just knowing I have the ability and then it just happens by happenstance. No, it's knowing I have the ability, then I become the seeker of that thing.
Can we go back to that confusion piece, Coach?
You took it right out of my mouth. You know?
I don't hear that. I don't know if I've heard that, but that is something that I've definitely experienced. You throwing in that third one, confusion, it just brought a lot of things like instantly to my into my head. And it's like, when you do have that fixed mindset and then you get that new information about something, there is a point or a time where there is confusion because you're fixed on this way and this is the way you've been thinking for a long time, but someone has shown you, hey, this is a better way, or this is how you can maximize this or whatever, or this is really the way you're really supposed to be doing it. And then now you got this information, the fixed information, you got the new information, and you're trying to come up in your head with the which way I'm supposed to go with this new information compared to the information that I already have. So I really like the fact that you brought up the confusion piece, because I think I think as we evolve, I think sometimes we spend a lot of time in that space because we're trying to figure it out. And I think that as we mature and as we get more correct information, I think sometimes those conversations are not as long. I think sometimes we get to a point in our life where we have a fixed mindset and then we hear the truth and then we automatically accept it. But I also think that there is some time where we do spin in that confusion space. So definitely appreciate you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I'm right there with Unc. I was literally about to say it right when he right when he said it. And as Unc was talking, and I know you're gonna clean it up. That's why we're trying to get our little nuggets in first until you clean it up. But I think when I'm listening, I'm like, man, I feel like the confusion piece is actually infused in the growth mindset. Like, because as I gain new information and I see something and exposed to something that I didn't know before, or I wasn't exposed to before, I now get into a space to where I have to reason, where does that belong? How do I make that applicable with what I already know? Because I'm already in routine in what I know. Now I know something new. Where does that fit? How do I adjust? How do I move? How do I implement that?
It's a level of fear in the how, because when you don't know, then because I don't want to look silly. I remember I thought the BlackBerry was gonna be the it of phones forever, and then they brought me a
Is it me or is it the internet gremlin?
Now I don't know what they bought them, but whatever they bought them,
It's the internet gremlin.
yeah.
Okay, I thought it was just me.
Yeah, this was out here. Yes.
Yeah. Until he come back. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Go ahead, bro.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, you good now.
Yeah, I never wanted to advance from the BlackBerry to the iPhone. I was stuck on that BlackBerry and scrolling and everything. I thought that was it. And when they brought me an iPhone, I'm like, I can't use this thing. I was limiting myself because I was afraid of not knowing how to use the said product. So I was limiting myself by sticking to it. So sometimes that how to is a level of fear and trepidation, which leads us to stay stagnant and not grow in our own right.
Agreed. In the space of fixed mindset, right? A lot of that is rooted in fear. Fixed mindset a lot of times is rooted in fear, not knowing, that the growth mindset is available, all of that other great stuff. Well, growth mindset is rooted in becoming aware that that's the thing. Either it's taught to you at a certain point in time, or somebody make it available to you at a later point in time through awareness. Those of us who have a growth mindset, we don't necessarily have this thing that keeps a lot of people in confusion. And that's this thing called control. Control is the thing that keeps you in confusion. Why? Because you feel like you need to know what to do next. Anytime I automatically transition into what do I need to do, that's called control. Because if I don't know what to do or how to do, then it puts me in a space to where it's like, well, I'm just going to put that on the shelf until I figure it out. Well, it may go on the shelf and it may stay on the shelf because you may never figure it out. And then you'll forget that you put it up there and then you move on doing the things that you have always known to do anyway. So, in that space of confusion, a lot of times it's more of a control mechanism because I've reached a space of comfortability and blah, 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 whatever, like you will hear a number of them, and that's fine, right? And that's okay for that person. But outside of the realm of needing to control everything, you recognize out here that this is a pursuit. Like we can go to the scriptures and the scriptures painted out clear, right? When you look over here, it says, seek ye first, right? The kingdom of God and all his righteousness, then all those things. So there's a seeking in there, but there is no clearly defined way to seek him. That's the journey that you have to go on. Sure, there are some other things that you know to do, right? There's another scripture that talks about for those who diligently seek him. So now it's not that over here on a growth mindset, like, do this, do this, do this, do that. No, the minute that I put it into the do, I just put it back into confusion. But if I move forward, not necessarily knowing, having a clear picture of what the next thing to do, well, now it's rooted in faith, right? Because now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So I don't necessarily need to see what's around the curve to know that I'm going around that curve. I'm going to go around the curve regardless of what's there. So that's why I say I like Roland brought in fear, because a lot of time control is the thing that we implement so that I can fear less or have less fear as it pertains to this thing. So long-winded response, but yeah.
No, that was good. All of that was good. Hey, 27 minutes already, brothers. We got a question in the chat. Can we go ahead, Miss Queen V? She asks, can a fixed mindset really keep you from growing and improving your self-confidence? Gentlemen.
Yes. Yeah, yes, and I ain't gonna leave it there. A fixed mindset says that this is as far as I can go. So if this is as far as I can go, the only growth would be mold. The only growth would be mildew, because I can't go beyond this cap that I've placed on myself. So information, advice, or anything that comes is shunned or pushed away.
I was just gonna say, yeah. Like, I mean, all day and twice on Sunday. Yes, a fixed mindset can really keep you from growing and improving your self-confidence. Like Roland said, at the end of the day, what you do is you put a ceiling on yourself. You say, I can only go this far when it comes to improving. I can only get here. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely, a fixed mindset can keep you from growing and improving your self-confidence.
So in conjunction with everybody else, I love this question, and more importantly, I love the fact that she added self-confidence on the backside of it, because a fixed mindset will have you trying to prove yourself, to where a growth mindset will always leave the door open for you to improve yourself. So for those who have a fixed mindset, they're not really self-confident. They want to convince you that they are confident, but constantly they're performing.
Yeah, I agree. But I want to, the way I'm because it's the way I'm reading it, right? I kind of have just a slight different approach to it, because I feel like the fixed mindset it works in conjunction to the lack of your self-confidence, because and we're going to get to that, and we're going to get we actually start getting to that in the next portion, but is that concept that I don't have the ability, or this is all that I have in the tank, you know. So I've already psyched myself up, or not even psyched myself up. I already, you know, talked myself out of going harder, of pushing further, of receiving new information. And it's kind of like it's kind of like that mindset that coach likes to point out a lot. You know, the whole working 2 times harder, you know, 10 times harder, being 10 times smarter, and all that stuff. But we were always told, you know, no matter no matter what you do, no matter what degrees or titles you put on, no matter how much money you make, you're gonna always be right to one of them. And we were taught that so much that there are a lot of us who are like, oh, I don't need no information from there. I'm not gonna do that. I ain't gonna do this. I got you know, homeboys back at home when I joined the military. I ain't joining that army. I ain't gonna go fight their wars. I ain't gonna do this because they don't. And you know, because we put ourselves at this mindset that this is all I'm gonna ever be in this system and in this country. So because of that, this is all I'm gonna be. And there's a lot of people that are that way because of that. I'm not saying everyone, but even if that's true, why does that have to be the defining factor of whether I gain information or whether I grow or whether, you know, I excel or do something different? And that's how. So when I see Coach Face, I know he's about to come back, but when I see this self-confidence, I'm always thinking in my head is I've already told myself something that caused this fixed mindset.
When you have a fixed mindset, and we're talking self-confidence, because I have a fixed mindset, I will always play small. I'm not going to put myself out there so I can fail. So if I put myself out there where I'm doing something where I don't necessarily think I'm the master of it, then I can look like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to put myself out there. So I don't have that ability to have self-confidence. My confidence is where I am, and I'm going to sit up here, I'm going to play my little role, and I'm going to be the big fish in the little pond.
So the look on my face was like processing what you were saying. I don't necessarily disagree, but I don't want to limit it to a particular profession, if that makes sense, right? Because I believe wholeheartedly that I don't have to run for office to be the president of the United States, and I can still be self-confident without doing that. So I don't want to limit it to a profession, because sometimes what we are experiencing in life is what a person believes, not so much as how much they believe. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion exists, right? Is there a cap on me, on my limitations, my expectation of myself based upon my understanding of my skill set, my intellect, things of that nature? And do I believe that this is the pinnacle? There is no more that I can, progress in that lane. Therefore, I don't try to. But I believe that I can be totally against a particular thing because of what I believe it stands for, and still have a growth mindset. I'm just not open to that because it falls outside of my belief system. So that's what I'm saying. I don't want people to get confused and think that, oh, well, a growth mindset means that I'm open to everything out there, whether I believe it's right or wrong or indifferent. No, I don't think it's that. I think it has to do with where I exist in time and space, and whether or not I believe that my belief system have the ability to expand. Kind of like going back to the scriptures, like, sure, I can be fixed on, like, look, this is my belief system, but also understanding that my belief system has a requirement to expand within that space. So I'm fixed in that direction, but I can't be fixed in what I currently believe, because in essence, the entirety of that is rooted in belief. And so going back to what you were saying, like my upbringing, past experiences, and things of that nature, that by itself defines limitations. So now when I embrace and embody those limitations and say, hey, well, this is just using this as an example. This is a white man's world, and I'll never be able to do this, and I'll never be able to do that. Well, now I'm expressing those limitations. But I can also be open to hearing what somebody else saying and say, well, you know what, maybe I have been looking at that just a little bit skewed. Maybe I can, hearing what you're saying, it actually makes more sense. So now I'm existing into a space that I call the idea meritocracy, which means that your ideas are actually better than mine. Therefore, now I adopt your ideas, recognizing that your ideas exist at a higher plane than what my limiting ideas were. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. That's where a lot of that confusion exists, because what a lot of times we try to do is make the confusion the growth mindset, and it's not.
I like that, because I was definitely thinking confusion is, because I actually said that confusion was intertwined with the growth mindset. But yeah, I do like how you clean that up. And y'all keep hitting the chats. Keep hitting the chats. I'm loving what y'all saying. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but let's go on to the next topic. The next topic is failure. All right. And when we talk about failure, is how we process failure, how we view it, and how we use it, to fuel the direction that we go. And that is what separates the growth from the fixed mindset in the space of failure. Right. So with that said, first question on this topic. So failure means I am inadequate. How can this statement be harmful? And can I change this outlook if this is my outlook?
So failure means I am inadequate. How can this statement be harmful? And can I change this outlook? I think this statement can be harmful if you leave it at that. Now, I personally don't have a problem with the statement failure means I'm inadequate, because I think, in a sense, that's what it is. It's an indicator that, let me give you an example. So if my goal is to bowl a 300 game, well, I've never bowled one before, but maybe right now I'm inadequate, or I may not have or possess certain skills in order to bowl a 300. I can still work on them. Maybe work on my release, maybe work on getting a different ball, whatever it is may be. However, it is an indicator that I may be deficient in some area. And I think when it comes to how can this statement be harmful, it can be harmful when you know what it is and then you leave it at that. There's no action to move forward with whatever it is that it is, whatever that outlook is. Hey, I'm inadequate. I can't bowl a 300. However, I'm not going to do anything to try to get better at it. So that's kind of what I mean. So can I change this outlook? Yes, you can. You can change your outlook by, when you recognize that you may be inadequate at something, recognizing that you are inadequate, and then doing something to change or doing something to fix it. Again, can't bowl a 300. What are you going to do in order to get better so you can bowl the 300? So that's what I believe. I think that's how you can change. That was it. I couldn't get it out.
Hey, that was cool.
I couldn't get it
I think that with the statement in itself, statements become mentality. So if that's where you're going to say, and I am, now you're identifying self as something. You are putting that on yourself and you saying, this is me. So you're already limiting yourself and where you can go. Whereas if you look at it as a lesson learned, if you take it and say, man, I failed, but I'm not a failure. Then you look at things like, okay, I tried it this way. Let me try it another way. So it's the way your mind forms things, instead of you saying, okay, I am this. That's a definite article. Boom, I am. I am that I am. He is. So now when you say I am a failure, what more you think you're going to be? Because you already limited yourself. You already said your capabilities were inadequate, and you start saying inadequate, inadequate, and now you identify with the negative. You don't think it's a negative, but it's a negative. So every time you start telling yourself these things, it's like, okay, I'm not looking at it for the lesson that could be learned to make me better, to propel me to grow. I'm looking at it as something that's another wall, another border, another boundary. So I limit myself and I stay in that same box.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with everything you just said, Roland. I think anytime I take an outcome and I tie it to my identity, that's problematic. Um, I think it's like evidence of me linking my worth to performance. And so the issue is that if I have that mentality, then what's going to end up happening is that I will not take risks in the future, right? I won't put myself in a situation to where I do something outside of what I know, because I believe that what I know is the limitations of the experience that I am supposed to live. So now when you say, hey, let's go bungee jumping, right? Well, for those people who are into that, they'll be open to going bungee jumping. I ain't gonna do it. I'm just telling you, listen, let me tell you something. I'm gonna keep it real. I have a fixed mindset when it comes down to bungee jumping, not based upon the fact that I don't think that I'm capable of doing it. I'm just not gonna do it. So that's why I'm saying there's a difference there. So is that perceived failure to some people? Sure, it is perceived to some people, but it's not perceived failure to me because it's not something within the scope of what I want to do with my life. So that's what I'm saying. Going back to the whole 300 example, I love that example because I like to bowl. Can you bowl a 300? Sure. Will you bowl a 300 your first time on the lanes? No, you won't. It takes practice, it takes dedication, it takes perseverance. It takes you learning about certain tricks, certain things, so forth and so on when it comes down to getting better. But it's not the bowling ball that gets better. It's the bowler that gets better, right? The bowling ball did absolutely nothing different. It's going to perform the way it's designed to perform. And you may even go buy a different bowling ball with a curve in it. But then you're going to have to teach yourself how to bowl with that particular bowling ball. So then that's the thing. So it's not that it's not that you're incapable of doing it. I'm inadequate. Well, I mean, that's your perception of it, but it's not, you being inadequate. It's just inadequate. It's just that you're not skilled at it just yet. So what you need to do is go on a journey to fine tune those skills so that you become better. And then you become better increasingly throughout the scope of time. Then eventually that 300 becomes like clockwork to you.
Man, I tell you, I love the bowl as much as the next man. And it's like when I bowl, I break out. My arm goes into like this strike mode. It's like you just stop. I don't know how to explain it, but that's how. Yeah, you sat there on one of my 220 games. Nah.
Hey, 220 is warm up.
Hey, that's all right. That's all right. That's because you got a custom ball. I bowl with poor money.
How they say, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Hey, let's get on the lanes. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm with it. It's like I got two balls, to be honest with you.
You see, I'm gonna go get two house balls, and I'm still gonna win. Never mind. I love where you went, Coach, because you kind of went the direction. You're kind of leading the direction into the next question anyway. But when we talk about how can a statement like failure means I am inadequate, I was definitely talking about what Roland was saying. Like I'm identifying myself in the negative because of an outcome. And not all outcomes are in my control. There's some things that actually happened and worked out for me because somebody else got involved. and gave me a nudge because somebody else, gave advice, right? To be honest with you, a lot of the things that we seek out to do, a lot of us are quote unquote inadequate, but it's sometimes it's the teams around us that makes things happen, right? Sometimes it's the things that we learned before that made us successful, not just necessarily because I have the ability. I think anytime you take the onus on yourself, like you said, in your identity, it never works out well. Whether it's the negative or the positive, because sometimes that comes off as vain, and then the team that you had on your way to success begins to walk away because, oh, it was all you, but so I'm mindful of anything that I allow in my mind. I'm sorry, that new picture just threw me off for a second.
Look like he want to say, and I'm running for Congress.
Hey, it caught me off guard. I wouldn't expect. Hey,
I am not the person who's going to run for office. I'm just going to say that right now.
hey, that picture, it was very politician-y. I'm just saying, Texas politician-y too.
Hey man, I'm a watching Landman. Don't judge me.
But so I do like that mindset. I do like that direction that we took it. And it makes me want to jump to the next question. But before we do, let's jump to the comment section. You can get this one that's highlighted. It's Queen V. She said, failure is a tool to help you understand what and how you failed so that you can learn and correct that mistake or failure. Yes, ma'am. Hey, yes, man, all across. Well, since she's already there, let's see if y'all want to touch the next question. What are some lessons we can extract from a failed attempt?
I guess that would be depending on what you failed in. Because if you fail in an area of life, you can identify what you did wrong. You can identify what led up to it. And now you start to look at the past track and you say, okay, I did this and I shouldn't have did that. I may have done that. And you find some things that you could have done better. So I think there's a litany of things that you find out about yourself and about the direction you're traveling when you fail.
All the things Roland said, but I'm going to give an example. All right. So I have had one failed marriage, and I agree with Roland. It kind of depends on the lessons you learn are going to be different based off the individual and based off of whatever the attempt or whatever the failure was. I do believe that there are some commonalities when it comes to just some things that we learn overall. But to be more specific, I think that, when you have marriage, if you pay attention, if you go and do some homework and actually pour those lessons out, because that's key right there too. You know what I mean? Before we get to the lessons that we learn, I could actually talk about it right there. Extract from a failed attempt. I think like when it came to marriage, I learned that I need to focus and look for certain qualities in a woman. I look for what things that I need to do to be a better husband. I look for, well, where are the directions to be a husband at? And does the lady that I want to marry follow or understand or live by the same rules and or principles or guidelines that I do? So a lot of different things that I learned from my first marriage, I have been able to apply into this one. So I think, some of the lessons, all the stuff that like Roland was talking about, it's just, like you were saying, and like I'm saying too, it's just that some of the lessons are going to be individualized to based off of whatever situation going on. But hopefully you learn more about yourself, you learn more about the situation, you learn some things that you may be able to do better, or that you may use to progress or be more knowledgeable in. At the end of the day, evolve into a better version of yourself.
I think I'm gonna be a little, just about that much, long-winded with this response because I think, for the most part, the school system has messed us up a lot. You go to the school system, you take tests, either you pass or you fail, and that's fine in that arena because that's the metrics that they have established for passing and failing and moving on and progressing. The issue is that the true test that you take is called life. Life does not put you in a position to pass or fail. Life puts you in a position of progressing or not progressing. So, if I have experienced some perceived failures, there's a number of things that I can look at, like Roland said. I can look at systems. Maybe I'm trying to do something according to the wrong system. I can look at my behavior and my skill set within that system, prescribed system. So maybe I can change a few things that I was doing differently in the system. I can look at collaboration. Maybe the problem is that I'm trying to work the system by myself and I'm supposed to be collaborating within the space of the system because I don't really understand the system. So it's a number of things that exist when it comes down to it. Again, systems, behavior within the systems, collaboration within the systems. I do like the notion of my own understanding of my abilities, right? But I think within the space of it, we're talking about capabilities. And so, again, do I have, going back to Queen V's original statement, do I have the necessary confidence in myself to actually do something outside of what I know, knowing that I have the ability to learn and grow and adapt? That kind of brings in the notion of resiliency. Some of us struggle with the adaptation of the thing because in our mind, we already have existing how the thing is supposed to work out. Well, I mean, that by itself can be problematic. So like I said, it's a number of different ways you can go in relation to this. But we look at those lessons exist around, in most cases, a system, your ability within that system, and your ability to collaborate within the system that's available.
I love everything you brothers said. I'm just like, is it there? To be honest with you, is a limitless amount of lessons that can be learned. Like Roland said, depending on the place of failure, right? If we go back to bowling, I'll tell you, every time I don't bowl a strike, I know where my placement was wrong at. I know what I messed up at, right? And then I go and I make an adjustment, But here's the problem: after game 4 or 5, that shoulder ain't got the same power it had. You know what I mean? So now I got to adjust, especially because I bowl with a curve, so I can't, because it's less power, it's going to curve faster, so I can't bowl all the way to the right, because now it's going to curve, it's going to start spinning off a little earlier than I'm used to. So I'm adjust my placement, right? But that's because, I didn't realize, Lord, I didn't realize how much power I lost until I bowled and failed. Now I know I need to make an adjustment and move. I need to move my position, start have a different have a different release point, and all of these things it's just I'm analyzing what happened, what did I do, what did I feel, how did I get there. And matter of fact, I like the statements that Atlas Keys to Keys Realty that she put in her comments. If we can bring that up, she said some of the lessons are not to do it again, and then learn the lesson to be and learn the lesson to be aware of what caused you to make the decision you made, you know. So that self-examination is the point, not just examining, well, this pin, if it spun this way, would hit that pin. No, I'm examining me. What can I do so that the next frame is different? And so I don't think we take that approach. But I'm glad you brought up that bowling, because to me, I don't think we take that next frame approach to life all the time. You know, all right, how do I pick up that split? How do I pick this up? How you gotta examine you first, and then make that adjustment. But if the problem, and I think that's another mindset that hurts us, if the problem is because the pins didn't fall or the ball wasn't heavy enough, or the problem is never you, then it can't be fixed. Then you settle with not succeeding at whatever the goal is. Yeah. That, in my opinion.
You just want us to keep talking about bowling. I get it. I understand.
Hey, I can do it now.
I'm with you. I get it.
I got some leave days I need to take. You know what I mean? Come to your state and deal you an L. That'll be all right.
I'm gonna need you to
Bro
skate.
is talking noise, ain't he?
Yeah, he is. I'm gonna need you to
Feeling
skate.
froggy tonight.
Yeah, he said rolling. He said
Talk
rolling.
about flying to Georgia to go give somebody an L.
Man, skate your way to Georgia over the next couple of days. It's gonna be enough ice on the road for you to get here.
I ain't saying I was gonna do it the next couple of days. I know better. Man. And I love that this just keeps flowing into the next one. The next point is effort, right? And it's kind of tied to everything we've been talking about, you know, with your effort, with what you put into and where you place your effort too, I think is important when we're having this conversation. But the first question on this topic is, what are some contributors to why some may seem to work harder to achieve a goal, and it seems as if it comes easier to others?
So here are some contributors to why some may work harder to achieve a goal. Some just do. Some are more consistent. Some are more disciplined. And some people have a growth mindset and not a fixed mindset. So some people just, like you said, effort. Some people are just putting in more effort. And to the outside looking in, it does seem sometimes that it does come easier to others. However, the thing about that is, we don't know what's going on in the dark. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We don't know how much effort someone is putting in when they're not posting on social media. We don't know how much effort someone is putting to achieve their goal and just not letting everybody else know about it. So I think, what are some contributors to why some may work harder to achieve a goal? I think it's consistency. I think it's discipline. I think it's mindset, just to name a few. And we talk about may work harder, and then they talk about seems. It's like the reality of it is, it really is some people out there who actually are working harder than you. There are some people out there who are putting in more work. There are some people out there who are going on YouTube University and trying to figure out how to do X, Y, and Z. There are people who are putting in more effort and getting more bang for their buck because they're putting in the work. So that's my 2 cents on this.
For that question, I think some people have a fear of going back to what they were or who they were. Some people have a fear, like you always hear about, hey, I grew up eating beans and weenies. I ain't going back to that. Some people don't want to fail. Some people take on a lot of pressure and put it on themselves to do better. And some people, certain things just come easy to them. Certain things just come easy to certain people, and they don't have a care in the world about said thing. It's just that they're happy about being.
It's just like the internet groom and keep hitting the pause button for him.
Yeah.
There you go. Go ahead, bro.
You back. You back.
I think when we look at values, we look at calling, we look at some people do things for money. Some people do things for praise. Some people do. There's a lot of reasons people do things and their motivations behind it. So I think that when you look at the individual, they have to be the ones to express that or identify so that we can see, like, okay, I understand them a little better.
Genetics too.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a little off script that I give more contributors as well. I think the number one contributing factor, and when you look at this question, you'll kind of catch it as I say it. What are the contributors to why some may work harder to achieve a goal and it seems as if it comes easier to others? Because you're paying too much attention to what others are doing. That's the main contributor why it seems as though it comes easier to them. Pay more attention to what you're doing. Examine yourself, see how much work you're putting in, analyze your own level of work, right? That's where it should start. Now, we got some other contributors, right? There's some intrinsic motivations that some people have, right? Some people are hyper focused on hope as opposed to the immediate outcome that I can get. And I think you see that a lot. We have this, what I call fleeting motivation to where I want to achieve this thing. And if I don't achieve this thing by this time, then I lose motivation for it. But whatever happened to you focus your attention out there and having a hope for a higher outcome and then staying hyper fixed on that and use the current information in time and space as information for you to become a better version of yourself. Try doing this, try doing that, try doing this, so forth and so on. Some people are confident. Some people are hyper confident in their system. That's why I started off with systems, right? Systems and processes, my skill set, my ability, and then my ability to collaborate. Because I think that's where it is. Even when you was talking about bowling, there is a process that we have to adopt before we get to slinging that ball down the lane. And if I don't have a set process, like I don't even have to ask you. If you bowl, you do the exact same thing every time you bowl that ball down the lane. But in the beginning, you're trying to figure out what that looks like. So I am confident in the process because now I have a process that I know it works. Why? Because there was some evidence that showed up in time and space. Maybe this was the first time I bowled a 220. So I know my process worked. Now I have to get down to the muscle memory thing, right? So now the repetition, absolutely. So the repetition now builds habit, and then the habit within the process now gets me to doing it consistently over and over and over again. So now collaboration, who I'm going to collaborate with. Like I need to have somebody that I can go to the lanes with, and they need to recognize that, every now and then I'm going to use this game, not as competition, but to better myself. And I think that's where some people miss it. We are so hyper focused on competing against one another that we can't collaborate with each other. I say that part again. We're so hyper focused on competing with one another that we can't collaborate with each other. When you learn to collaborate, collaboration by itself makes you better. But you won't do that because at the end of the day, you're focused on this. So, I'm going to stop right there because, I can talk about this piece all day.
Man, you in there. You in there. All of y'all. So when I'm looking back over this question, it's always weird when I say when I'm looking at this question and I typed it. But when I'm looking back over this question, I start and it's really because of what we dealt with previously, which I said in the previous section, right? It makes me think is because Roland may be better at the thing than I am. He may get to that goal easier than I do. But Roland, not throwing shots, but just all jokes aside, but all seriousness, right? Roland got 11 years on me at this thing. So it comes easier to him because just what you were just talking about, consistency. He been at it. He been doing it. 12. I try to make you younger, man. Take the win. But well, I know age ain't always a factor, but in that 12 years and versus my years, I didn't take my lesson learned. He did. This is why it's easier for him now, because he don't have to hit those bumps in the road any longer. He has a streamlined process to get there. I'm going to take the longer route because this may be my first time. I'm figuring it out along the way. So yes, I might be working a little bit harder. All right. If we go right now to a hospital and me and Roland got to put in IVs, I promise you I'm gonna stick you 3 times and he probably gonna get it on the first shot. Like, man, how is that so easy? Well, I was a medic for 22 years. That's why it's easy. Versus me, I'm a paper pusher. So that task is going to come easier to the person that has learned the skill, that's done, like Coach said, that's gained the system, that's gained the process to getting it done. You put me in an S1, I don't care what day or what time or what month you put me in, and you tell me that you need an example or something, you can go ahead and create your memorandums from scratch if you want to. I got a whole DVD. Remember, you used to have a whole drive, but got a whole DVD full of them. And so because of that, because of the nature of my job, I've learned not to recreate the wheel. The wheel is already there. You just got to smooth it out.
The only piece I would add, because I'm glad you mentioned, you know, the specifics. The only piece that I is that sometimes some of us that have been doing a thing for a very long time, we have confused ourselves to believe that just because we've been doing it for a long time, we've been doing it right for a long time. When I talk collaboration, it's not so much as longevity, it's about what is right, right? So it does not take one person and elevate that person over the other. Now, sure, if that person has done a thing and that person has become a subject matter expert at that thing, sure, I can learn through their subject matter expertise. That's a different, arena. But I also think that there are some people who have deemed themselves as subject matter expertise at things to where at the end of the day, they have no metric to where they get to test what they have deemed themselves to be subject matter experts at. And then they turn around and try to teach it to their kids and so forth and so on. And they child like, yeah, well, great. Garfield, I was looking at this video and Garfield was saying this, that, this, that, this, that, and the third. And so because I might be so stuck, hyper inflated in my own ego, that I can't look at what my child showed me that the internet said about this particular thing that I was trying to teach them, and they have learned it from. And I won't humble myself. So you know what? That's actually better. Let's practice doing that. So I think a lot of that exists as well because we are full of ourselves. A lot of us are. We're full of ourselves when it comes to relationships. We're full of ourselves when it comes to finances. We think the way that we've done it all these years is the right way. No, there is always a better way to do a thing. So when we humble ourselves and recognize, like, look, just because I've done a thing, and I'm not harping on Roland, because trust me, Roland do better IVs than me, I guarantee it, right? But all those other things, right? Especially when you start talking about, those skill sets, right? Those soft skill sets that incorporate those soft skill sets. Well, yeah, sure. I may be practicing active listening, but the way I do it is different than how Roland do it, is different how Gaddy do it, it's different how Unc do it. That does not necessarily mean that my way is the best way of doing it. But if I have a better way of doing it than you, then you might want to humble yourself and listen until you get better at it. Then go find somebody else who does it better than me.
Facts. And that's So when you talk about collaboration, I think that's the only way collaboration really works is using the skill sets properly for what we have. Why am I going to insist on being the one to give the IV when we got a medic in the room? Like doesn't make sense to me, right? We got a counselor, we got a youth counselor in the room, but we see this young man we're helping. I want to go counsel him. I ain't got no experience in it. This man do it for a living. Hold on, let me talk to him. You know why? Why we got the skill set in the room? We got the guy that's the subject matter expert. But I think that a lot of that, I think sometimes pride get in our way of growth. You said I can't get this square peg inside this round hole. That's all right. Then watch me keep hammering at it. Watch me prove. I may not be as smart as you, but I'm strong enough to make it happen. So watch me hack away at it. Why? Why? But so when somebody come and say, if you put that square peg in the square hole, it'll slide. It'll fit right in. You don't have to fight with it. You don't have to jam it in there. It'll fit right in. Because if you ever need to take it out to make repairs, it'll slide right back out. But my pride told me I can do it my way, so I'm gonna keep doing it my way. So I agree there. There was the one where you said mine was. I think it was your response, Ms. Nick D, to the question. Ms. Nick D put in the comments. She said mine was not just wanting to achieve. Trying to give it a second to grab it. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Mine was not just wanting to achieve something, but wanting to excel at it. Some goals are easier to reach if you're only looking for surface level accomplishments. I wanted to pull this up because I like that take on it. Sometimes people work harder because they want to be better. Roland is a Kobe fan. We always talk about Kobe this and Kobe that. Kobe's put them hours in the gym that other people weren't willing to put in. And this is why he was hitting them buzzer beaters, why he was winning championships, Or just look at I tell people, get anybody that's in the league versus the rest of us playing pickup every day. They were willing to put in the work that some of us wasn't willing to put in to get there. That's just, so I agree there. I don't want to make it I'm not trying to excel. I'm not trying to stand out. I'm just trying to make a couple of shots. I just want to get on the team. I just want to make the squad. That's okay. But can you at least become great at your role? Y'all have anything on that before we move on? Ooh. Time keep on slipping. With that, because we kind of addressed the next question. So let's go to the next topic, challenges. All right. How do we deal with challenges? All right. Plays a part in how we attack either our being in a fixed mindset or in our growth mindset, and is it just woe is me because something come up in front of me, or am I going to take the time to figure out how to get through this challenge, how to attack it? That is the difference here. So the first question I have on this one is, Are challenges and setbacks the same? I can't tell if Roland's just looking at me. There we go.
Okay, I'll go first. Um, my initial answer is no. Um, the longer answer is, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying because I was being very definitive when I started talking about different things. I talked about processes, I talked about skill set, and I talked about collaboration. Challenges um, could exist, if I'm being completely honest, in all three arenas. However, the thing that makes a challenge is that it identifies my interaction with the thing, right? So it could be a challenge with me dealing with the actual system itself, needing to learn the system. It could be a challenge with me getting better at the skill set that I need to operate the system. It could be challenges between people as we collaborate. Setback is most cases on the outside. It's more so that the system is broken. I need to wait on a part or repair or something of that nature, so now it equates to a time limit that I can't control. A partner that I collaborated with, maybe they've left, maybe something more drastic happened, you know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. So now, because it takes more than one person to operate this thing, I have to go find another person. So that's kind of like where I look at it. Challenge is more so me to where setbacks is more so, I'm sorry, challenge is more so internal, where setback is more so external.
I like that. I think that when we look at a challenge is something that's difficult that you are facing or attempting, whereas a setback is an obstacle. A setback, something that you face that you it may push you back or it may stop you from moving forward. That would be a setback. Like if I'm in a race and the leading up to the race, I'm challenged by the preparation. If I have a setback, I put a hamstring or something like that. It hinders me from moving forward in the race.
Yeah. Challenges and setbacks are not the same. I think in certain cases they can be intertwined. I think sometimes if you look at a challenge, it can be a setback, but it may not necessarily be a setback. A challenge, if we want to go to the back to the bowling analogy, you know what I'm saying? The challenge may be the fact that they didn't oil or they got a different type of oil on the lane before you go out there and start. So you used to bowling on this type of lane, you're in a different building, they use a different type of oil. So now your ball and everything else is going to be different. You're going to move down the lane. That's a challenge. That's something that you just have to adjust and overcome. The setback for that same situation could be when you allow that challenge to be the focal point, and then next thing you know, you're not bowling your 220 or whatever it is you may be used to bowling. So I think that, everything that y'all said at the same time, I think that if it's something that kind of holds you back or allows you a space where you may need to regroup and then move forward. I think is more so what a setback is compared to what a challenge is. A challenge don't necessarily may or may not necessarily hold you back. The challenge just may be identified that, hey, look, this is something that's going on. They got a different type of oil on the lane. I'm just going to make an adjust, and now I have to use this ball versus this ball.
Yeah, I like everything everybody said. I think when I look at challenges, I think when we confuse the two, let me stop there. When we confuse the two, uh, and we look at a challenge as a setback, I think that deals a lot more with what I have to deal with me internally. Because when you talked about that fear, Ro, that's real because I dealt with that a lot, and I think some of that is part of what we talk about when we talk about certain mindsets, like when we talk about the imposter syndrome and stuff like that. You know, some of us have a fear of succeeding because do I belong in that space as the winner? You know, do I belong in that space as the person that is seen as the subject matter expert? Do I belong in that space as the supervisor? Do I belong in this space as the host? You know, and it's and so when a challenge comes up, I take that challenge as a setback, and I give up, and I say, well, we can't move forward because this challenge is in place. But each challenge that is in place, there's a way around it. There's a way through it. There's a way to handle it, right? Versus just throwing your hands up. So when I look at it, when I look at challenges, and it gives me an opportunity to learn a part about what I'm doing that I may not have learned if I didn't face a challenge. Because if every time I face a new challenge, I learn even more about the subject, whether it's professional, even in scripture. People don't think they run into challenges in scripture. If you don't run into challenges when you read the scripture, I feel like when you see things that feels like it's going to contradict what you already believe, you avoid them if you don't have challenges. But challenges in the scripture is when I see something and it makes me go back to something that I previously saw or believed, and I start looking at it differently, right? Or I continue to read on the thing that I saw in the scripture until I gain more clarity. Now I saw something in the scripture I didn't see before, and it didn't take away what I believed before. It enhanced what I believed before. So I feel like I gain when I attack the challenges, and I see it head on, and I push through it. You know, like you said when you talked about there's too much oil on this lane. Okay, but guess what? If you put too much oil on the lane, I know how to bowl the way I know how to bowl because I didn't just when I got too much oil, I didn't go to the front side. I need a new lane. I didn't go, now, okay, this is what we got. It's what we're going to bowl on. You jump in the league and the lanes are too slick. You're going to have to bowl on your lane, Chief. That's your assigned lane. And I think that's what makes us actual professionals at a thing. Are there any alibis before we push forward? All right. So going to the last topic in this discussion deals with identity. And here's my question on this one. Since we're talking about the hearts of men, how should men handle the feeling that my mistakes or my prior paths in life are the reasons why I can't grow, or even are the reasons why I'm stuck here, and we use that as an excuse not to grow?
Ooh, I like this question. How should men handle the feeling that my mistakes or my prior paths in life are the reason I can't go? First of all, nobody don't care about your feelings, bruh. But with that being said, what I mean by that is this. Feelings change all the time. I feel one way this moment, something happens, I feel this way. First of all, see if those feelings have any justification to them. You know, are your is that an accurate statement or is that not an accurate statement? If that is an accurate statement, if your mistakes and your prior paths in life are the reasons why you can't grow, then what you need to do is you need to go and deal with those issues or those things that are causing you to not be able to grow. So that's what I believe. And then I believe that after that, you can grow, because I do think that sometimes there are situations in people's paths, in people's past, that keep them from growing. Maybe it's an issue they haven't dealt with. Maybe there's a relationship that has some issues with it, but there could be something there, could be a mistake, could be something that you are allowing people to hold over your head. You know what I'm saying? So I do believe, again, to kind of sum it all up again, if you are feeling a certain type of way, I think you should figure out if that's an accurate statement or an inaccurate statement. And if it is an accurate statement, I think you should go back and deal with those reasons why you can't grow. And then I believe that that would allow you a clearer path to grow and move forward with progress in your life.
I don't know if Rose stuck again.
Look, he looks stuck.
Yeah, he's stuck. I would say, because I am, this question kind of gives me pause, because there's some assumptions that may be existing within the scope of this question. And that assumption might be that they know how to handle their feelings, period. So when we look at this question, how should men handle the feeling that my mistakes or prior paths in life are reasons I can't grow? Then that by itself talks about a skill set, understanding how to handle my feelings, and then now relating them to why those feelings exist. So as I look at this, I would initially say you handle them the way that you should handle feelings. But the issue is that most of us don't know how to handle feelings. Well, let me be the first person to tell you, your feelings are information that is being given to you based upon what you know to be true and how you resonate with that truth. A lot of times, it's not for you to do anything with. A lot of times, it's for you to learn based upon the separation from what we call authentic reality and your version of reality. Because make no mistake about it, we construct reality in our head, and then we feel a particular type of way when it doesn't turn out the way that it should be or the way that we thought it should be. So, how should that person handle their feelings? Don't handle them, learn from them.
Let's see if I can jump out here. To me, this is all ego versus accountability. I think when we're talking our feelings, we're worried about how we look. We're worried about the failure of a thing. Instead of taking accountability, saying, man, I messed up or I failed at this thing. We'd rather mope, or we'd rather, however you deal with your feelings in that, or choose to not deal with your feelings in this regard. So, man, this is one where I think you should always look at, say, a situation and think, how can I grow from it? What can I learn from it? Instead of moping in it, instead of laying it in it. Because when you think about, I messed up and I did this, you make it all about you. And if it's all about you, then it's not.
It's not talking.
Yeah, it's all about you. Last thing I
Ego,
heard.
accountability. That's it.
Get rid of your ego, take accountability. I love it. I feel like a lot of feelings that we have that are attached to performance is typically because of something someone else said. And sometimes it's something that someone else said that wasn't even directed at us. We just took it for us and ran with it. You know, when I when I when I hear people on social media say, "Oh, you trusted this," you watch how people talk on social media, right? A lot of times they get on there and they'll shame somebody that they don't like, and they'll go pull something up from their past and say, "See, this is why you don't trust this person. This is why you don't do this and you don't do that." Not everybody out here is qualified. You say they're not qualified because they took a puff back in the day. Stop playing. Half America not qualified for nothing. Then, you know, and if we're being honest, if we took inventory of everybody's life that we came across before we got hired for a job, or before we got let into a birthday party, before anything, whatever the qualifier is, a lot of us would be disqualified to do almost anything, because we've done a lot. So a lot of times we're listening to what other people are saying and how other people are framing things, and we own that, and that becomes an identity to ourselves. I'm identified because I did this. I deserve not to have a job. I ain't got. I deserve to have this karma caught up with me, because I used to live like this. If you changed and turned and you made steps towards becoming better, this karma and universe thing got a lot of people messed up. But you made steps to become better. Your reality is going to change based upon the reality you help create for yourself. All right. So start making steps to being better. Start making steps to doing things. Start changing the narrative of how you see yourself first. And then you can start seeing, you can start walking in different spaces and doing different things. So, man, this was a good conversation. I didn't even realize at one point how time has crept up on us in this conversation. Um, but with that said, it means we have come across our bittersweet moment. Our final thoughts.
My final thought, I'm gonna keep it short, I think. So the topic for tonight was the mindset shift nobody wants to make. If you look at all four of us up here, we all have had spent some time in the military. All of us have had over I think over 15 years each, So with that being said, there's a lot of different mindsets that may have happened, or mindset shift that may have happened in our lives along with our age. I will say that for me, and I think one of the things about mindset shifts is that there are certain phases in your life where certain mindset shifts may be easier to shift than others. If we know and recognize that there needs to be a mindset shift about a certain thing, sometimes we are reluctant to go ahead and make the adjustment, and adjust the mindset because we may want to stay where we are. I will say from personal experience, every pretty much every time that I have let go and allowed myself that better or that more evolved mindset to take place in my life, it has paid off in a valuable or in a better way. It has paid off better for me. There are some mindset shifts that I didn't necessarily always want to make, but I knew that it was for the betterment of who I was, what my walk was supposed to be like. It's going to be better for my relationship. So I did it. So I will say, if you are someone listening to this podcast and you are struggling on making that mindset shift that you don't necessarily want to, but you need to make it, I'm not saying go ahead and make it. I'm saying go ahead and reevaluate it again and ask yourself, should I go ahead, make this mindset shift, and how it's going to benefit me in the long run? That's my final thought.
Oh my God. Um, I greatly appreciate this conversation, and I love everybody's response. I love all the comments in the comment section, but I think you guys are spot on. You know, Earl Nightingale gave an awesome definition for success. He's a long time ago. He labeled success as a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That said, growth is not a destination, but it's a daily decision. Each moment you choose to learn, to rise after falling, and to see yourself as a work in progress, you actually reclaim your power and purpose. Past may inform your story, but it should never limit your future. So, what we should do is stand tall and stay curious and let your mindset be the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. That said, to this conversation, the mindset shift nobody wants to make is that your future self is requiring something from your current self that you're extremely uncomfortable with. It's your responsibility to figure out what that is so that you can experience the life that you were destined to experience. That's my final thoughts.
Man, I appreciate all these brothers on this panel for helping move this topic forward, and in the chat. So we love this conversation. For me, I'm just gonna make it simple, right? What is that mindset shift no one wants to make? And I hate it every time I hear it because I know how much more I need it, right? Which is, you know, you got to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. I don't care what conversation we're having. You got to become comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? You when you protecting your comfort, that means you're asking to not evolve, to not grow, to not gain. I want to stay right here. New information. New information is hard to hear because new information means I need to do something different than what I'm doing right now. Because here's one thing that I could tell you: your current condition that you're in, your current position. Let me say that you're in, right? Is because of the continuous decisions that we make. So if I want to evolve my situation, my condition, whatever that is, I need to evolve my frame of mind, evolve my thinking. I have to be willing to do some things that I'm not comfortable with, not morally, but mentally and physically, because my mindset is what's trapping me. But when it's time to grow, my mind is what's gonna grow first. Then I'm gonna get uncomfortable. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna go back to school. I don't care. I'm old. But I'm gonna go back to school while these young folks run circles around me in the classroom. But at the end of the day, we're gonna have the same certification or the same diploma, and we're gonna go forth so I can go and achieve these goals. I can get this thing done. I can start this business. I can I can add on this house. I can invest this money. But all in all, it starts with us internally, right? Let's get out of our own way. Let's progress. Let's move forward so that we can be better versions of ourselves, so that our children for tomorrow can be better. They have a higher starting point than we did. That's what I do this for. Hey, with that said, I am glad, my brother, you are back. You got any words for us while you on the screen? All right. Hey, while we got you moving, I gotta monopolize on the moments,
I said it in the chat.
Hey, but no, man, I love and appreciate all you brothers, man, and everyone in the chat. Listen, scroll through the chats. Miss Crystal and Miss Keys is keeping it on point. They're laying out all what we have coming up. The 31st is the seminar, right? So go ahead and let's get registered for that. Is this QR code? Yeah, there we go. Is this QR the QR code right here in the top Left
My
hand
finger-
corner.
My fingers wasn't acting right, bro. It's right there. That right there.
That way. There we go. Go ahead and scan the QR code. Let's get registered for the seminar. Let's get empowered. Let's grow. This Saturday, reframing the image of relationships. Right. Your past isn't broken. Rewrite your story in 3 liberating steps. Man, that sounds like something I want. Like I want to hear this. It's gonna be enriching. So come on, tap on in. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. Join the platform or join the community so that we can continue to grow together. Right? Are there any notes that you have for the people, Doc? Any alibis, brothers? As they say in the old Baptist churches, if all hearts and minds are clear. Hey, we see y'all tomorrow morning. Y'all have a blessed evening and enjoy your family and your loved ones. We out you.